The champagne flute shattered against marble, crystal fragments scattering like my carefully constructed life. I stood frozen in my ivory gown. $2,300 I'd saved for 2 years, working double shifts at Romano's, while 300 guests watched Marcus Sullivan, the man I'd loved since college, turn to face them with that politician's smile he'd been practicing. "I can't do this," he announced, his voice carrying across the cathedral with rehearsed confidence. "I won't marry someone so beneath my family's standards." The words landed like physical blows. Beneath standards. I watched his mother, Catherine Sullivan, draped in Chanel and contempt, nod approvingly from the front pew. My hands trembled against the bouquet of peonies I'd arranged myself because flowers from the florist cost too much. Whispers erupted. Camera flashes sparked. Someone's phone was already raised, recording my humiliation for whatever social media platform would devour it first. My best friend Claire gasped somewhere behind me, but I couldn't turn around, couldn't move. The cathedral's incense mixed with my nausea, the cloying sweetness making my empty stomach churn. "Marcus, please," my voice cracked, small and pathetic even to my own ears. "Sarah, don't make this harder." He didn't even look at me when he said it. "You're a waitress. My father's running for Senate. Did you really think this would work?" The answer was yes. Stupidly, desperately, yes, because he'd told me he loved me, because he'd proposed on one knee in that tiny apartment we'd shared, promising forever despite our different worlds. Because I'd believed him when he said none of it mattered. I should have known better when he insisted we move the wedding date up, when he suddenly needed to postpone meeting my parents for the 5th time. When his college friends stopped including me in conversations at his campaign events. My father had died when I was 16. My mother worked 3 jobs to keep our heads above water. I'd put myself through community college, grateful for scholarships and ramen noodles and dreams of something better. Marcus had been that dream, proof that hard work and love could bridge any gap. What a fool I'd been. "I'm sorry it had to be this public," Marcus continued, addressing the crowd now like they were voters at a rally. "But I wanted to be honest, to show integrity." Integrity. The word tasted like ash. He'd waited until I was standing at the altar, until every person we knew was watching, until there was no dignity left to preserve. This wasn't honesty. It was an execution. I dropped the bouquet. Peonies scattered across white marble. Pink petals crushed under my satin heels as I turned and ran. The cathedral doors were so heavy, my weak arms barely managing to push them open. Cold November air hit my bare shoulders, stealing what little breath I had left. The steps blurred. 27 of them. I'd counted during rehearsal, laughing about tradition and thresholds and carrying brides. Now they were just obstacles between me and escape. My dress caught on the 3rd step. I heard fabric tear, felt the heavy skirt drag, but I didn't stop. A black Mercedes idled at the curb, its engine a low purr that somehow cut through the chaos in my head. I barely registered it. The parking lot stretched before me, cars belonging to people who'd just witnessed my destruction. Where was I even running to? My apartment. Our apartment. Still had Marcus's things in it. My mother was inside the cathedral, probably crying, definitely humiliated by association. I had nowhere to go. "Miss." The voice was dark velvet, accented with something European. Italian, maybe. I spun around, nearly losing my balance in the ridiculous heels I'd practiced walking in for weeks. He stood 3 steps above me, backlit by cathedral light that turned him into a silhouette. Tall, broad-shouldered. Expensive suit that probably cost more than my car. For a moment, all I could process was the way he commanded space, how the air itself seemed to rearrange around him. I'm sorry, I didn't see you." I was apologizing. Of course I was apologizing, even now. Even after everything. "You're bleeding." I looked down. My palm was cut, a thin line welling red where I'd caught myself on the cathedral door. I hadn't even felt it. Hadn't felt anything except the crushing weight of public humiliation. "It's nothing." I tried to move past him, but he shifted slightly, blocking my path without seeming to move at all. My heart hammered. Up close I could see his face. Sharp cheekbones, dark eyes that reflected cathedral light like black mirrors, a mouth curved in something that wasn't quite a smile. Young, maybe early 30s, but with the kind of presence that made age irrelevant. "Let me." He produced a handkerchief from his jacket. Actual monogrammed linen, crisp white with initials I couldn't quite read. Who carried handkerchiefs anymore? His hand reached for mine, and I should have pulled away. Should have run faster. But I was so tired of running, and his touch was surprisingly gentle as he wrapped the fabric around my palm. "Thank you." My voice wobbled. I need to breathe," he said simply. "You need to breathe." I realized I'd been holding my breath, my corset-tight bodice suddenly suffocating. I gasped, and the sound was too close to a sob. His eyes tracked the movement, cataloging my distress with an intensity that should have frightened me. "That man," he said, nodding toward the cathedral, "is a fool. You don't know him." The defense was automatic, pathetic. "I know men like him." Something dangerous flickered across his expression. Rich boys who think the world is their playground, who break toys they never deserved to touch. The possessiveness in his tone made my skin prickle. I wasn't a toy. I wasn't anything to this stranger who appeared out of nowhere with his expensive suit and dangerous eyes, and a man stepped out of the Mercedes. Tall, built like a wall, wearing an earpiece. Security. My brain finally caught up with what I was seeing. The car. The guard. The way this stranger held himself like gravity bent around him instead of the other way around. "Who are you?" I whispered. "Someone who appreciates rare things when he sees them." His thumb brushed across my wrapped knuckles, the touch sending electricity up my arm. "And you, Sarah Mitchell, are very rare indeed." Ice flooded my veins. "How do you know my name?" "I know many things." He released my hand but didn't step back, keeping me in the orbit of his presence. "I know your mother is Maria Mitchell, who works at St. Catherine's Hospital. I know you graduated top of your class from community college. I know you've been saving for law school but spent it all on a wedding to a man who was never going to marry you." Horror and fury warred in my chest. "You're insane. Have you been following me?" "Observing." He said it like there was a difference. "Making sure you were worth the investment." "Investment?" The word came out shrill. "I'm not. This is crazy. Get away from me." I shoved past him, or tried to. He let me go, but I felt his gaze tracking me like a physical weight. My dress dragged across concrete, the train now filthy and torn. I made it 5 steps before his voice stopped me. "Your ex-fiancé owes me money, Sarah." I turned slowly. "What?" "Marcus Sullivan, or rather his father owes me, $2 million to be precise." His smile was sharp enough to cut. "Borrowed for the Senate campaign, due 3 weeks ago. They're avoiding my calls. This couldn't be real. This was shock, or a breakdown, or something. That has nothing to do with me. Doesn't it?" He descended the steps with predatory grace, each movement deliberate. "You were about to become family, complicit in their debts, their schemes." "I didn't know about any debts. I believe you." He stopped inches away, close enough that I could smell his cologne, cedar and smoke and something darker. "Which is why I'm offering you a choice." My laugh was hysterical. "A choice? What choice?" "Marry me instead." The world tilted. I actually stumbled, and his hand shot out, steadying me with a grip that was firm but not painful. The security guard moved closer, his hand inside his jacket. More people were emerging from the cathedral now. I could hear Claire calling my name. "You're insane," I repeated, but it came out weaker this time, perhaps. His dark eyes held mine, and I couldn't look away. "But I'm also the only person here offering you power instead of pity, revenge instead of regret, a new life instead of the ruins of your old one. I don't even know you." "Dante Moretti." He said it like a confession or a threat. "And you have 10 seconds to decide before your friend reaches us and this opportunity disappears forever." 10. My mind raced. This was crazy. Impossible. 9. But Marcus had just destroyed me in front of everyone I knew. 8. My mother would lose her home when she couldn't afford rent without my help. 7. I had $300 in my bank account and nowhere to go. 6. This stranger, Dante, knew things about me, had been watching. That should terrify me. 5. It did terrify me. 4. But so did everything else. 3. Claire's voice was closer. Sarah, wait. 2. Dante's hand extended, palm up, waiting. 1. I put my hand in his. His fingers closed around mine like a trap snapping shut, and his smile was triumph and possession, and something that made my stomach drop. The security guard opened the Mercedes door. Dante guided me inside with a hand on my lower back, proprietary and claiming. Wait! Claire had reached us, breathless and furious. Sarah, what are you... Who is this? Her future, Dante answered before I could speak. He slid in beside me, the door closing with an expensive thunk that sealed us in leather and luxury. Drive, Marco. Sarah. Claire's palm slapped against the window as we pulled away from the curb. I watched her face, shock, confusion, fear, grow smaller in the side mirror, watched the cathedral disappear, watched my entire life recede into the distance. What had I just done? Dante's hand still held mine, his thumb tracing circles on my inner wrist that I felt all the way to my racing heart. Breathe, he reminded me again, his voice low and intimate in the confined space. You're safe now. But I wasn't safe. I could feel it in the way he looked at me, like I was something he'd won, claimed, captured, in the way Marco drove without needing directions, like this had been planned, in the way my wedding dress pooled around me in this stranger's car, white silk stained with shame and recklessness. I'd escaped one nightmare and walked straight into another. Dante leaned back against leather seats, still holding my hand, still watching me with those dark, endless eyes. Welcome to your new life, Sarah, he murmured. I promise it will be far more interesting than the one you left behind. The city blurred past the tinted windows, and I realized with cold certainty that I'd just made a deal with someone very dangerous. I just didn't know how dangerous yet. The Mercedes glided through streets I didn't recognize, leaving behind the familiar neighborhoods of my ordinary life. I should have demanded he stop, should have screamed or fought or done something other than sit frozen in expensive leather while my wedding dress created a barrier of ruined silk between us. Where are we going? My voice sounded hollow, distant, somewhere private. Dante hadn't released my hand. His grip was loose enough that I could pull away if I wanted to, but we both knew I wouldn't. Where would I go? Back to that cathedral. We have arrangements to discuss. Arrangements. Like I was a business transaction. Maybe I was. I don't understand any of this. I finally managed to extract my hand, pressing myself against the door. The handkerchief around my palm had a small bloom of red seeping through. You can't seriously expect me to... What? Actually marry you? This is insane. Is it? He shifted, angling his body toward me but maintaining distance. Calculated. Everything about him was calculated. More insane than marrying a man who humiliated you for sport? Who used you to seem relatable to working-class voters before discarding you when you'd served your purpose? The words hit like hammers. How do you know that? I told you. I observe. His dark eyes tracked my face, cataloging every micro-expression. Marcus Sullivan's father needed him married before announcing his Senate run. A wholesome romance with a hard-working girl from a modest background. Perfect campaign material, but the polls shifted. His strategist decided a single eligible son played better with certain demographics, so you became expendable. My stomach churned. You're lying. Am I? He pulled out a phone. Sleek, black, nothing like the iPhone everyone carried. I can show you the emails between Gregory Sullivan and his campaign manager, the timeline they created, the exact date they planned your dismissal. I didn't want to see them, couldn't bear to have my worst fears confirmed. Why do you even care? If his father owes you money, go after him, not me. But you're so much more valuable than money, Sarah. The way he said my name felt like possession. Gregory Sullivan thinks he can hide behind lawyers and delay tactics. But a man's son? His political future? Those are leverage. Horror crystallized. You want to use me to hurt them. I want to take something they value and make it mine. His voice dropped, intimate and dangerous. There's a difference. They don't value me. You saw that back there. They will when you're mine. Such certainty. Such arrogance. When you walk into rooms wearing my ring, my name, my protection. When Marcus has to watch you elevated so far above him, he'll need a telescope to see you. That's when they'll understand what they threw away. Revenge. He was offering me revenge wrapped in diamonds and danger. Part of me, the part still burning with humiliation, still hearing Marcus's dismissive words, wanted it desperately. The other part knew this was wrong. Dangerous, potentially fatal. The Mercedes turned onto a tree-lined street where houses became estates. Mansions rose behind iron gates and manicured lawns. Old money. The kind that built universities and named hospital wings, and definitely didn't marry waitresses. We stopped at gates that opened automatically, black iron scrollwork parting to reveal a 3-story colonial that belonged in a magazine spread. Marble fountains, topiary gardens, windows that gleamed like watching eyes. "This is your house?" Stupid question. Obviously it was his house, one of them. Dante stepped out, extending his hand to help me. I ignored it, gathering my destroyed dress and climbing out myself. My heels sank into perfect gravel. "I have properties in Boston, New York, Milan, but this one is private. Secure. Secure." The word choice made my skin prickle. Marco, the driver guard, had disappeared somewhere. Another man in a dark suit appeared at the front door, then another. How many people worked here? How many watched? "I can't do this." I backed toward the car. "This is crazy. You're a stranger. I can't." "Sarah." He moved closer, not touching but somehow surrounding me anyway. "Look at me." God help me. I did. "I'm offering you a way forward," he said quietly. "Not just revenge, security. Your mother's hospital bills covered. Yes, I know about those too. Law school tuition. A life where you'll never have to smile at rude customers or work double shifts or settle for less than you deserve. All I'm asking in return is your name on a marriage certificate and your presence at my side when required." "Why?" The question burst out. "Why me? You could have anyone." "Why would you want—" "Because you're perfect." His hand lifted slowly, giving me time to retreat. When I didn't, his fingers brushed my cheek, tucking back a strand of hair that had escaped my elaborate updo. Beautiful enough to make Marcus bleed with regret. Smart enough to learn quickly, vulnerable enough to need me, and proud enough to hate that you do. The analysis was clinical and intimate all at once. I should have been offended. Instead, I felt seen in a way Marcus never managed in 3 years together. "What happens if I say no?" I whispered. Something flickered in his expression. "You walk away. I have Marco drive you wherever you want to go. Your mother's apartment, presumably, where you'll explain to her what happened and figure out how to rebuild from nothing." He paused. "And I find another way to collect what the Sullivans owe me. Threat. Definite threat beneath the pleasant words. And if I say yes, then we go inside. You clean up, change clothes, and we discuss terms like civilized people." His thumb traced my jaw, the touch light but electric. No pressure, no rush, just conversation. Every instinct screamed that this was dangerous. But those same instincts had told me Marcus loved me, that everything would work out, that good things happened to good people. My instincts were clearly garbage. "Just conversation," I repeated. "You have my word." The word of a man who admitted to stalking me, who knew intimate details of my life, who commanded security guards and multiple properties, and God knew what else. But what choice did I have? Pride wouldn't pay rent. Dignity wouldn't cover my mother's insulin costs. I nodded. Dante's smile was victory and hunger wrapped together. His hand moved to my lower back, guiding me up marble steps. The front door opened before we reached it. Another guard, this one with gray in his hair and scars on his knuckles. "Welcome home, sir." His eyes barely flickered to me. "Everything is prepared." "Thank you, Vincent." Dante led me through a foyer that could have swallowed my entire apartment. Marble floors, crystal chandelier, a staircase that curved like something from a movie. "This is Sarah. She'll be staying with us." See that the East Wing is prepared. She'll need clothes, toiletries, anything she requires. Staying. Present tense. Like it was already decided. Vincent nodded once and disappeared. How many people worked here? How many followed Dante's orders without question? This way. Dante's hand remained on my back, proprietary and warm through the thin fabric of my dress. He guided me through hallways lined with art that looked expensive and old. We ended up in a study. Dark wood, leather furniture, floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, and a desk that probably cost more than my car. He poured amber liquid from a crystal decanter. Whiskey, you need it. I don't drink whiskey. You do now. He pressed the glass into my hand, then poured his own. To new beginnings. I didn't toast, just took a sip and nearly choked on the burn. Dante's mouth curved in amusement. Sit. He gestured to a leather chair. Please. I perched on the edge, my dress cascading around me in ruined waves. The bodice dug into my ribs, the train pooled on expensive carpet. I felt ridiculous and small and completely out of my depth. Dante sat across from me, perfectly at ease in his domain. Let's discuss terms. Terms, I echoed numbly. The marriage will be real in every legal sense. Ceremony, certificate, binding contract. You'll take my name, live in my house, appear at my side when required. He sipped his whiskey, watching me over the rim. In exchange, all your debts are cleared. Your mother's medical expenses covered indefinitely, a monthly allowance, shall we say 50,000, and law school tuition when you're ready. 50,000, monthly. I made that in a year of double shifts and degrading tips. What about... I couldn't believe I was asking. Physical expectations? None. His answer was immediate. I won't touch you unless you ask me to. This is a business arrangement, not a romance. Relief and strange disappointment warred in my chest. For how long? 2 years minimum. After that, we can renegotiate. Divorce if you want, with a settlement that ensures you never have to depend on anyone again. 2 years. I could survive 2 years of anything, couldn't I? People endured worse for less. And what do you get out of this? I demanded. Besides revenge on people who owe you money? A wife. He said it simply. In my world, family means everything. A man without a wife, without the stability of marriage, is viewed as incomplete, unreliable. There are business opportunities that require respectability. So, I'm a prop. You're a partner. His eyes held mine. I take care of what's mine, Sarah. And if you agree to this, you'll be mine in every way that matters. The possessiveness should have repulsed me. Instead, it sparked something dangerous in my chest. Marcus had been ashamed of me. Dante wanted to claim me. I need time to think. Of course. He stood, extending his hand. Vincent will show you to your room. Fresh clothes are being prepared. Take a shower, rest, eat something. We'll talk more at dinner. I let him pull me up, his hand engulfing mine. And if I decide no, then Marco drives you home tomorrow morning. No strings, no consequences. He raised my hand to his lips, pressing a kiss to my wrapped knuckles that felt like sealing a bargain. But you won't say no, Sarah. How do you know? Because you're already imagining Marcus's face when he sees you again. His smile was wicked and knowing. When you walk into his father's campaign fundraiser on my arm, wearing diamonds and confidence. When he realizes exactly what he lost. He was right. God help me. He was right. Vincent appeared in the doorway, silent as a ghost. Dante released my hand slowly, deliberately. Until dinner, then. I followed Vincent through more hallways, up that sweeping staircase, past closed doors and watching portraits. The East Wing was its own apartment, bedroom, bathroom, sitting room, all decorated in cream and gold and understated luxury. Clothes are in the closet, miss, Vincent said. Dinner is at 7. Someone will fetch you. Then I was alone. I stood in the center of a bedroom bigger than my entire apartment, still wearing my destroyed wedding dress, and started laughing. The sound was unhinged, bordering on hysterical. What was I doing? What was I actually considering? My phone buzzed in the hidden pocket I'd sewn into my dress. 17 missed calls from Claire. 8 from my mother. 3 from unknown numbers. And one text from Marcus. We need to talk about the apartment, not sorry. Not an explanation. Just logistics about our shared lease and his stuff, and the mundane details of untangling a life together. I threw the phone across the room, then I unzipped my dress, the one I'd saved for, dreamed in, believed represented my future. It fell in a puddle of ivory silk and shattered dreams. I stepped out of it, leaving it there like a shed skin. The bathroom was marble and mirrors. I caught my reflection, makeup smeared, hair falling from its pins, the cuts on my palm still seeping blood through Dante's monogrammed handkerchief. I looked like a disaster, a victim. I looked like someone who needed saving. The shower had 6 different settings and water pressure that felt like heaven. I stood under scalding heat until my skin turned pink, washing away makeup and hairspray and the lingering smell of cathedral incense. When I finally emerged, wrapped in a towel softer than anything I'd ever owned, the closet had been filled. Dresses, jeans, sweaters, all in my size, all expensive, all perfectly coordinated. Someone had been very thorough in their observations. I should have been terrified by that level of surveillance. Instead, I felt something darker, something that whispered, "If he's been watching this long, he must really want you." God, I was broken. Marcus had broken something fundamental in me if I found stalking flattering. I chose jeans and a cashmere sweater that probably cost more than my monthly rent. They fit perfectly. Of course they did. 7 o'clock arrived too quickly. A knock at my door revealed another guard. Younger, built like he crushed cars for fun. "Miss Mitchell, dinner is ready." I followed him down, back through the mansion to a dining room that could have seated 20. Dante sat at the head of a table set for 2. Still in his suit, but with his jacket removed, sleeves rolled to reveal forearms corded with muscle and... Were those scars? Sarah. He stood as I entered, perfect manners from a dangerous man. "You look beautiful." "I look like I'm wearing someone else's clothes." "You're wearing your clothes. Everything in that closet is yours now." He pulled out a chair. "Hungry?" I was starving. Hadn't eaten since yesterday, too nervous about fitting into my dress. The irony wasn't lost on me. Dinner was Italian. Pasta with truffle oil, salad with balsamic older than me, bread that melted on the tongue. We ate in tense silence, Dante watching me like I might disappear if he looked away. "Have you decided?" he asked finally. I set down my fork, met those dark, dangerous eyes. Thought about Marcus's text, about my mother's insulin costs, about law school dreams gathering dust, about revenge and safety and the intoxicating idea of being wanted instead of tolerated. "I have conditions," I heard myself say. Dante's smile was pure satisfaction. "Name them." "My mother never knows the truth. She thinks this is, I don't know, love at first sight. Romance. Something
Agreed.
normal." "I finished my degree, law school like you said. That's non-negotiable." "Of course." "And..." I took a breath. "If you ever lie to me, the deal is off. I've had enough of lies." Something shifted in his expression. Respect, maybe. "I'll never lie to you, Sarah. I might not tell you everything, but what I do say will be truth." It wasn't exactly a promise of honesty, but it was more than Marcus had ever offered. "Then yes," I said, sealing my fate. "I'll marry you." Dante was around the table before I could blink, pulling me to my feet, his hands framing my face with a gentleness that contradicted everything else about him. "You won't regret this." "I already regret it," I whispered. "Good." His thumb traced my lower lip, the touch electric. "Regret means you're thinking, and thinking will keep you safe." Safe from what? But he didn't answer. Just pressed a kiss to my forehead, chaste, claiming, and stepped back. "We marry in 3 days," he said. "That gives you time to prepare, to say goodbye to your old life properly." 3 days. 72 hours until I became Mrs. Dante Moretti. What had I done? The next morning arrived with weak sunlight filtering through curtains I hadn't closed, and a knock that jolted me awake in sheets I didn't recognize. For one blissful second, I forgot everything. Then reality crashed back. The cathedral, Marcus's betrayal, Dante's dark eyes and dangerous proposal, my acceptance. "Miss Mitchell?" A woman's voice, accented and polite. May I come in? I pulled the covers to my chin like they could protect me from my choices. Yes? She entered carrying a tray, coffee, pastries, fruit arranged like art. Mid-50s, elegant in a simple black dress, silver hair pulled into a neat bun. Good morning. I'm Elena, Mr. Moretti's housekeeper. He asked me to bring you breakfast and help you prepare for the day. Prepare for what? I sat up, accepting the coffee because I desperately needed something to ground me. The attorney arrives at 10 to discuss the prenuptial agreement, then the wedding planner at noon. Mr. Moretti thought you might want company for the appointments, so I'm at your disposal. She said it matter-of-factly, like this was normal. Like women agreed to marry strangers and planned weddings in 3 days all the time. Prenuptial agreement, of course. I was marrying a man who had multiple properties and enough money to lend millions. He'd want protection. Where is Dante? His name felt strange on my tongue. Intimate. He had business in the city. He'll return this evening. Elena moved through the room with practiced efficiency, opening curtains, laying out clothes I hadn't chosen. He left instructions that you're free to explore the house and grounds, but please don't leave the property without Marco. Prison. Gilded and beautiful, but still a cage. What if I want to see my mother? The question came out sharper than intended. Elena's expression softened. Then Marco will drive you. Mr. Moretti only asks that you don't go alone, for safety. Safety from what? She didn't answer, just smiled professionally and gestured to the breakfast tray. Eat, please. You'll need your strength for today. The attorney arrived precisely at 10. A woman in her 60s with sharp eyes and sharper suits. Margaret Chen, senior partner at some law firm I'd never heard of, but that probably charged more per hour than I made in a week. We sat in Dante's study, documents spread across that enormous desk. Elena had stayed, a quiet presence in the corner that somehow made everything less terrifying. This is very straightforward, Miss Mitchell, Margaret said, sliding papers toward me. In the event of divorce, you receive a settlement based on length of marriage. 1 year minimum nets you $2 million. Each additional year adds another $1 million. After 5 years, the settlement jumps to $10 million regardless. I stared at numbers that didn't feel real. That's insane. That's generous, Margaret corrected. Mr. Moretti wants you comfortable, secure. She flipped to another page. Additionally, all debts in your name or your mother's name are assumed by Mr. Moretti immediately upon marriage. You'll receive a monthly allowance of $50,000. Plus unlimited access to household accounts for personal expenses. $50,000. He hadn't been exaggerating. What does he get? I asked. What am I giving him besides my name? Margaret's eyebrow lifted slightly. Your presence, your discretion, your loyalty for the duration of the marriage. You agree not to discuss Mr. Moretti's business dealings with anyone outside this household. You agree to accompany him to social and business functions as required. You agree to maintain the appearance of a committed, loving marriage in public. Appearance. Everything with Dante was about appearance. And if I break these terms, the agreement is void. You leave with nothing. Margaret's tone was neutral, but her eyes held warning. Mr. Moretti values loyalty above all else, Miss Mitchell. He rewards it handsomely and punishes its absence severely. The threat was clear, even unspoken. I thought about the guards, the security, the way Dante commanded obedience with a glance. What happened to people who betrayed him? What happened to wives who broke their word? I need to read this. My hand shook as I reached for the documents. All of it, before I sign anything. Of course. Margaret stood. Take your time. I'll return tomorrow for the signing. The ceremony is scheduled for Friday evening. Small, private, just immediate household and necessary witnesses. Mr. Moretti thought you'd prefer that to another public spectacle. Considerate. He was being considerate about trapping me in a contract that essentially bought my silence and loyalty for money. After Margaret left, I sat in Dante's chair and actually read the prenuptial agreement. Every word, every clause, every carefully crafted sentence. It was exactly as she'd described. Generous financially, ironclad legally, and absolutely clear that I was entering an arrangement, not a marriage. But then, I found the addendum. Handwritten in dark ink, initialed by Dante. Sarah Mitchell shall have complete autonomy over her education, career choices, and personal relationships. No restrictions shall be placed on her freedom of movement, communication, or association beyond reasonable security concerns. She maintains full rights to her own earnings and intellectual property. This marriage is a partnership of equals, regardless of financial disparity. Partnership of equals. He'd written that himself, added it after the lawyers had finished their clinical terms and conditions. I traced the words with my finger, trying to understand this man who stalked me and saved me in the same breath. The wedding planner arrived at noon, a thin man named Sebastian who spoke in exclamation points and brought fabric swatches like they were holy relics. We sat in a sunroom I hadn't known existed, surrounded by samples of flowers and invitations and table settings. Mr. Moretti wants elegant but intimate, Sebastian gushed, spreading options across a glass table. Classic romance with modern sophistication. I'm thinking cream roses, gold accents, candlelight. Oh, and the dress. We have appointments at 3 boutiques this afternoon. Vera Wang, Oscar de la Renta. I already have a dress. The words came out flat. Sebastian blinked. I'm sorry? From yesterday. My wedding dress. It's upstairs. Elena, who'd been silently present through all of this, shook her head gently. Miss Sarah, that dress is damaged, and it carries bad memories. You should start fresh. Start fresh. Erase yesterday's humiliation with new silk and lace. Pretend the cathedral disaster never happened. I can't afford. Mr. Moretti's account, Sebastian interrupted smoothly. Budget is unlimited. He wants you to have exactly what you want, what I wanted. Did anyone actually care what I wanted? Or just what would look best on Dante's arm? Fine. I was too tired to fight, but nothing too elaborate. Simple, classic. Sebastian's smile suggested he heard simple as a challenge rather than instruction. The boutique appointments blurred together, fitting rooms and mirrors and saleswomen who fawned over Mr. Moretti's fiancé like I was royalty. I tried on dresses that cost more than my car, each one more beautiful and more suffocating than the last. Then I saw it. A-line, off-shoulder, silk crepe that draped like water. No beading, no embellishments, just clean lines and elegant simplicity. The kind of dress that whispered instead of shouted. That one, I said. Sebastian frowned. It's lovely, but perhaps something with more. That one. I met his eyes in the mirror. Please. He recognized the steel beneath my exhaustion. As you wish. We'll need alterations, of course, but we can have it ready by Friday. Friday. 3 days away. 3 days until I married a man whose last name I'd learned yesterday. We returned to the mansion as sunset painted the sky orange and purple. Elena had dinner waiting. More Italian food, this time osso buco that melted off the bone. I ate alone in that cavernous dining room, my phone silent beside my plate. I'd finally checked my messages earlier. 43 from Claire, ranging from worried to furious. 21 from my mother, all some variation of what happened. Marcus had sent 3 more texts about the apartment. Still not apologizing, still treating our relationship's destruction like a minor inconvenience. I'd responded to none of them. What could I say? Sorry, Mom. I'm marrying a possibly dangerous stranger for revenge and money? Hey, Claire, remember how I ran away from the cathedral? Yeah, that worked out weird. At 7, I heard the front door open. Voices in the foyer. Dante's low rumble. Vincent's clipped responses. My heart rate picked up traitorously. I shouldn't be excited to see him. Shouldn't feel anything except fear and resentment. But when he appeared in the dining room doorway, still in his suit, dark hair slightly mussed, I felt something complicated unfurl in my chest. Sarah. His eyes tracked over me, cataloging, assessing. How was your day? Exhausting. I set down my fork. I signed my life away to lawyers and wedding planners. You haven't signed anything yet. He moved closer, loosening his tie. Margaret said you wanted to read everything first. Smart. You added an addendum about autonomy. He paused. You read that far? I read all of it. I turned in my chair to face him. Partnership of equals. You wrote that. I meant it. He pulled out the chair beside me, not across the table, but right next to me, close enough that I could smell cedar and smoke. This arrangement works only if you have agency. If you choose to stay, not because you're trapped, but because it benefits you. Very altruistic for someone who admitted to stalking me. His mouth curved. I never claimed altruism, I claimed honesty. He reached over, snagging a piece of bread from my plate. Did you find a dress? Yes. Will you show me? Absolutely not. That's bad luck. We're already courting bad luck, Kara. I don't think a glimpse of fabric will make it worse. Kara. The endearment rolled off his tongue, like he'd been using it for years, not hours. Tell me about your business, I said abruptly. The legal parts. Dante leaned back, studying me. Real estate development, import-export. Investments. I have holdings across 3 continents. And the illegal parts? Silence stretched between us, charged and dangerous. Finally he smiled, sharp, appreciative. What makes you think there are illegal parts? Men who lend $2 million to politicians don't usually have guards with guns and handwritten addendums about discretion. I met his gaze steadily. You told me you wouldn't lie, so don't. Something flickered in his expression. Respect, desire, danger. My family has complicated business interests, he said carefully. Some legitimate, some in gray areas. I manage the legitimate side while my uncle handles the rest. But it's all connected. You can't separate the two completely. Your family. I mean exactly what you're thinking. His hand covered mine on the table, warm and possessive. And I mean that you'll never be touched by that side of things. You'll be protected, insulated, a wife, not a participant. Mafia. He was telling me he was Mafia without saying the word, and I'd agreed to marry him. Sarah. His thumb stroked across my knuckles. You can still walk away. Tomorrow morning Marco drives you wherever you want. No consequences, no debts. I'll even clear your mother's hospital bills as a gift. Why would you do that? Because I want you to choose this. His dark eyes held mine. I want you to stand beside me on Friday, knowing exactly what you're agreeing to, knowing who I am, what I am. A criminal. A businessman who operates outside conventional morality. He said it without shame, but a man who keeps his word absolutely, who protects what's his with everything he has, who would burn down the world before letting harm touch his wife. Wife. The word hung between us, heavy with implication. Marcus never protected me, I whispered. He threw me to the wolves. I'm not Marcus. Dante's hand tightened on mine, and those wolves answer to me. The possessiveness should have frightened me. Instead, it sparked something dark and needy in my chest. I'd spent 3 years making myself smaller, quieter, more acceptable to Marcus and his family. Dante wanted to make me dangerous. I chose already, I told him. I'm not walking away. His smile was victory and hunger. Then we should discuss something important, more important than confessing you're in the Mafia? Much more. He stood, pulling me up with him. Come with me. He led me through the mansion to a wing I hadn't explored, past more guards who nodded respectfully. We stopped at a door he unlocked with his fingerprint. Biometric security in a house that already had armed guards. Inside was an office that made his study look modest. Wall-to-wall technology, multiple monitors, filing cabinets that probably required special clearance, and on the desk, a folder with my name on it. What is this? My voice came out smaller than intended. Everything. Dante opened it, revealing photographs, documents, records. Marcus Sullivan, Gregory Sullivan, Catherine Sullivan, their debts, their schemes, their secrets. I stared at pictures of Marcus with women who weren't me, dated weeks before our wedding, Gregory accepting money from questionable sources, Catherine's shopping addiction, and the creditors circling. The Sullivans are drowning, Dante said quietly. Gregory's campaign is funded by borrowed money and favors he can't repay. Marcus was supposed to marry for money. There's a senator's daughter in Connecticut who could have saved them, but he met you and convinced himself he could have both love and duty. Until his father made him choose. Until the polls showed a single son had better demographics. Dante's hand settled on my lower back. They used you, Sarah, wasted 2 years of your life on a lie. Rage bubbled up, hot and acidic. Why are you showing me this? Because on Friday you become a Moretti. And Morettis don't forgive debts or insults. His eyes met mine in the reflection of the dark monitors. I'm offering you more than marriage, Kara. I'm offering you revenge. How? His smile was wicked. Gregory's campaign fundraiser is in 2 weeks. 500 guests, all of Boston's elite. He's expecting you to be there in disgrace, proof that he was right to force Marcus to end things. He turned me to face him. Instead, you'll walk in as my wife, wearing my diamonds, carrying my name, and we'll watch his entire political career crumble. How will that? Because I'll call in his debts publicly, expose his funding sources, ruin him the way he tried to ruin you. Dante's hands framed my face, gentle despite the violence in his words. All you have to do is stand beside me and look happy. Can you do that? Could I? Could I walk into a room full of people who'd witnessed my humiliation and pretend to be blissfully in love with a man I barely knew? I thought about Marcus's face when he dismissed me. Catherine's satisfied smirk, the camera phones capturing my tears for viral entertainment. Yes, I breathed. I can do that. Good girl. Dante's thumb traced my lower lip, the touch electric. We'll destroy them together. The promise should have horrified me. Instead, I felt alive for the first time since Marcus had shattered my world. Dante was dangerous, criminal, possessive to the point of obsession, but he was offering me power instead of pity, revenge instead of sympathy. And God help me, I wanted it. Friday arrived wrapped in autumn fog and the suffocating weight of finality. I woke at dawn, unable to sleep, my wedding dress hanging like a ghost in the corner of my room, the second wedding dress in a week. The universe had a cruel sense of humor. Elena knocked softly at 6, entering with coffee and something that looked like determination. Your mother called the house line. She's concerned. Concerned. Understatement of the century. I'd finally called her 2 days ago, spinning a story about meeting Dante at a charity event months ago, about secret dates and hidden romance, about love at first sight that couldn't wait. She'd been skeptical, hurt that I'd kept secrets, but ultimately relieved I wasn't drowning in the aftermath of Marcus's betrayal alone. I hadn't told her the truth, couldn't. The lie tasted like ash, but it was kinder than reality. Is she coming? I asked. Mr. Moretti sent a car for her at 8. She'll arrive by 9. Elena set down the coffee, her expression softer than usual. He also asked me to give you this, a small box, black velvet, unmistakably expensive. Inside, a ring that stole my breath, emerald-cut diamond, at least 3 carats, surrounded by smaller stones that caught morning light and threw rainbows across the walls. The band was platinum, delicate, beautiful. The note beneath it was in Dante's handwriting. You deserve beauty that doesn't come with shame. My throat tightened. This was wrong. All of this was wrong. The dress, the ring, the marriage built on revenge and contracts instead of love. But Marcus had proven love was just another lie people told themselves. At least with Dante, I knew exactly where I stood. At least he'd never pretended to be something he wasn't. The morning blurred into preparation. Hair styled in soft waves instead of the elaborate updo I'd planned with Marcus. Makeup natural, understated. I looked like myself, just polished. The dress fit perfectly after alterations. Silk crepe skimming my body like water. Off-shoulder sleeves elegant and simple. I looked beautiful. I looked like a bride. I looked like a liar. My mother arrived precisely at 9, escorted by Marco into the sunroom where I waited. She froze in the doorway, one hand flying to her mouth. Sarah. Tears filled her eyes. Oh, baby, you're beautiful. I crossed to her, letting her pull me into a hug that smelled like lavender and home. Hi, Mom. I still can't believe this is happening. She pulled back, studying my face like she could find the truth beneath the foundation. You're really sure? You barely know this man. I know enough. The lie came easier now, practiced. He's good to me. He makes me feel safe, powerful, Wanted. He makes me feel like I matter. You've always mattered. Her hand cupped my cheek. Marcus was a fool. I'm glad you found someone who sees that. Guilt twisted in my stomach. She thought this was romance, rescue, fate. She had no idea I'd sold myself for security and revenge. Mrs. Mitchell. Dante's voice from the doorway made us both turn. He'd appeared silently, dressed in a black suit that probably cost more than our rent, looking like sin wrapped in Italian wool. Thank you for coming. My mother straightened, evaluating him with maternal suspicion. Mr. Moretti, you're moving very fast with my daughter. When you know, you know. His eyes found mine across the room, dark and unreadable. I hope you'll forgive the urgency. I've waited long enough for something real. The words were perfect, romantic, exactly what a mother wanted to hear. And coming from Dante, they sounded almost sincere. Well, Mom's suspicion softened slightly. You certainly seem capable of taking care of her. I'll protect her with my life. This time the words carried weight beyond performance. A promise or a threat, I couldn't tell which. The ceremony was scheduled for 11 in the mansion's garden, a space I'd barely seen, now transformed with cream roses and gold ribbons, and enough candlelight to make everything feel like a dream. Or a very expensive hallucination. 20 people attended. Elena, Vincent, Marco, other household staff whose names I'd learned over 3 days. Margaret Chen as witness. A priest who didn't ask questions. And my mother, sitting in the front row, crying quietly into tissues. No one from my old life. No Claire, no co-workers, no friends who'd watched Marcus destroy me. This wedding was sealed off from that world entirely, like it existed in a separate dimension. Maybe it did. I stood in a small room off the garden, staring at my reflection while Elena fussed with my veil. Simple tool. Nothing like the cathedral-length monstrosity I'd worn before. Through the window, I could see guests taking their seats. Could see Dante standing at the altar, talking quietly with the priest. You can still run, I told my reflection. Out the back, through the gardens, down the driveway, Mr. Moretti would find you. Elena's voice was matter-of-fact. He always finds what belongs to him. I don't belong to anyone. She met my eyes in the mirror, something almost pitying in her expression. You will after today. Music started. String quartet, Pachelbel's canon, traditional and safe. Elena handed me a bouquet of cream roses and stepped back. It's time, Miss Sarah. I walked through French doors into autumn sunlight, my heels clicking on stone pathways. Every eye turned to me, but I only saw one pair, dark, intense, tracking my approach like a predator watching prey. Dante stood perfectly still as I moved toward him, his expression unreadable, except for something hungry flickering in his gaze. When I reached the altar, he extended his hand. I took it, feeling his fingers close around mine like a trap snapping shut. You're shaking, he murmured, too low for anyone else to hear. Terrified, I admitted. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. His thumb stroked my palm. You look exquisite, Kara. The priest began speaking, words about love and commitment and forever. I barely heard them, too focused on Dante's hand holding mine. The way he watched me like I was the only person in existence. This man who'd stalked me and saved me and trapped me in 3 days of whirlwind decisions. Do you, Dante Alessandro Moretti, take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife? I do. No hesitation, absolute certainty. And do you, Sarah Elizabeth Mitchell, take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband? The moment stretched. I could feel my mother holding her breath. Could sense Elena and Vincent and all the guards watching. Could see something dangerous flash across Dante's face. Not anger, but intensity that bordered on desperation. He wanted this. Needed it for reasons that had nothing to do with revenge. I do. His smile was victory and possession and relief, all tangled together. The priest pronounced us husband and wife, and Dante's hand cupped my face with shocking gentleness. May I? He asked, voice low. I nodded. He kissed me like he was claiming territory. Thorough, possessive, absolute. His mouth moved against mine with practiced skill, tongue teasing my lips until they parted. The kiss deepened, grew heated, and I forgot we had an audience. Forgot this was performance. Forgot everything except the taste of him, and the way his hand fisted in my hair like he was afraid I'd disappear. Someone cleared their throat. We broke apart, and I was breathless, dizzy. "Mrs. Moretti," Dante said, testing my new name. "Welcome to your new life." The reception was intimate. Champagne and Italian pastries, music and conversation. My mother pulled me aside during the third glass of wine, her eyes wet with emotion. "He looks at you like you're his whole world," she whispered. "I've never seen anyone look at someone that way." I glanced at Dante across the garden. He was talking with Vincent, but his eyes tracked me constantly, possessive and vigilant. He's intense. Intense is better than indifferent. She squeezed my hand. "Marcus never looked at you like that, like he'd burn the world down if someone hurt you." Accurate. Disturbingly accurate. The party wound down by 3. My mother left with promises to visit soon. Still crying happy tears. The staff dispersed, and suddenly it was just Dante and me, standing in a garden full of dying roses and melting candles. "Well," I said into the silence, "we did it. We did." He moved closer, jacket abandoned somewhere, sleeves rolled up to reveal those scarred forearms. "How do you feel?" "Like I just signed away my soul." Souls are overrated. His hand found my waist, pulling me closer. "I prefer tangible things. Your name on legal documents, your ring on your finger, your body in my house. You said no physical expectations. I said I wouldn't touch you unless you asked." His other hand traced my spine, the touch burning through silk. "Have you changed your mind about that clause?" I should say no. Should establish boundaries, but his kiss at the altar had awakened something hungry and reckless, and I was so tired of being careful. "What if I have?" The words came out breathless. Dante's eyes darkened. "Then I'd carry you upstairs and spend our wedding night showing you exactly what kind of husband I can be." His mouth brushed my ear. "I'd peel this dress off slowly, kiss every inch of skin I uncovered, make you forget Marcus ever existed." Heat pooled low in my stomach. "That's very confident. I'm very skilled." His teeth grazed my earlobe. "Say yes, Sarah. Ask me to touch you." God, I wanted to. Wanted to lose myself in physical sensation and forget the complicated reality of what we'd done. But something held me back. Pride, fear, the last shred of self-preservation. "Not tonight." I stepped back, putting distance between us. "Tonight, I need to process this." Disappointment flickered across his face, quickly masked. "Of course. Whatever you need." He caught my hand, pressing a kiss to my new ring. "But know that when you do ask, Kara, I'll make it worth the wait." Promise or threat. With Dante, they were the same thing. He walked me upstairs to my room, still my room, not his, maintaining the agreed-upon separation. At the door, he paused. "Sleep well, wife." The word was caress and claim. "Tomorrow, we start planning for the fundraiser. Revenge," I said softly. "That's what this is really about, isn't it? Not marriage, it's about revenge." Both. His knuckles traced my jaw. "I get a beautiful wife and the satisfaction of destroying my enemies. You get security and the pleasure of watching Marcus suffer. Everyone wins. Except the Sullivans. Especially the Sullivans." His smile was sharp. "They tried to break you, Sarah. We're going to break them back." After he left, I stood in my wedding dress in the center of my bedroom. Mrs. Sarah Moretti now. Legally and completely. I should feel something. Regret, fear, triumph. Instead, I felt numb. I'd escaped one cage and walked into another. But this cage had diamond bars and a keeper who looked at me like I was precious instead of disposable. Was that better? Or just a prettier kind of prison? My phone buzzed. Claire, for the 47th time. I finally answered. "Jesus Christ, Sarah." Her voice was frantic. "Where the hell have you been? Your mom said you got married today? To who?" "It's complicated." "Complicated? You ran out of your wedding and disappeared for a week, and now you're married to someone else? That's not complicated. That's insane." "I know." I sank onto the bed, dress pooling around me. "I know it's crazy. But Claire, he's what? Rich? Dangerous? Both?" She paused. "Sarah, Please tell me you know what you're doing." Did I? Did anyone really know what they were doing? Or were we all just making choices and hoping they didn't destroy us? "He's giving me a chance to make Marcus pay," I said quietly. "For all of it. The humiliation, the lies, the years I wasted. Dante's giving me power, and what's he getting? A wife, respectability, someone to stand beside him and look devoted. That's not an answer, but it was the only answer I had." We talked for another hour, Claire extracting every detail I could safely share. I didn't mention the Mafia connections or the contracts, or the fact that my husband had been watching me long before we met. Some truths were too dangerous to speak aloud. When I finally hung up, exhaustion crashed over me. I struggled out of my wedding dress, hanging it beside the destroyed one from last week. 2 dresses, 2 marriages, 1 week. The symbolism was too heavy to examine. I fell into bed in just my slip, the ring heavy on my finger. Tomorrow I'd start planning revenge. Tomorrow I'd figure out how to be Mrs. Moretti. Tomorrow I'd face whatever consequences came from marrying a man who collected people like chess pieces. But tonight, I let myself imagine Marcus's face when he saw me again. When he realized what he'd thrown away. When he understood that I wasn't broken. I was dangerous. And I smiled in the darkness. Something cold and sharp unfurling in my chest. Dante had promised me revenge. I was going to take it. 2 weeks passed in a strange blur of luxury and lessons. Dante was gone most days, business he didn't elaborate on, meetings with men who had cold eyes and expensive watches. But evenings belonged to preparation. He taught me how to move through his world, how to hold a champagne flute like I'd been doing it all my life, how to smile politely while cutting someone down with carefully chosen words. "The fundraiser isn't just about revenge," he explained one night over dinner, both of us seated at opposite ends of that ridiculous table. "It's about establishing you as untouchable. They need to see you've risen so far above them that their opinions became irrelevant." "I'm still me," I protested. "A waitress playing dress-up. You're Mrs. Dante Moretti." His eyes held mine across crystal and candlelight. "That name carries more weight than Marcus's entire family legacy. Own it." So I practiced walking in heels that cost more than my old monthly salary. Practiced small talk with Elena, who'd spent decades navigating wealthy circles. Practiced holding my head high when everything in me wanted to shrink and hide. The dress Dante chose for the fundraiser arrived 3 days before the event. Midnight blue silk that hugged every curve before flowing to the floor, a neckline that dipped dangerously low, a slit that showed leg with every step. Diamonds accompanied it, a necklace that had belonged to his grandmother, he said, earrings that caught light and threw stars across walls. "Too much," I protested when Elena fastened the necklace. The stones were cold against my skin, heavy with history and expectation. "Perfect," Dante corrected from the doorway. He'd appeared silently, dressed in a tuxedo that made him look like he'd stepped out of a film noir, dangerous and beautiful, and absolutely in control. "You look like you were born to wear those." "I was born to wear clearance rack polyester." He crossed the room, stopping behind me so we both faced the mirror. His hands settled on my bare shoulders, warm and possessive. "You were born to be extraordinary. Marcus was too stupid to see it. I'm not." The compliment landed wrong, too intense, too possessive, but when I met his eyes in the reflection, I saw something beyond possession. Pride, maybe, or satisfaction that his investment was paying dividends. "Ready?" he asked. No, absolutely not. But I nodded anyway. The fundraiser was held at the Fairmont Copley Plaza, all crystal chandeliers and marble columns and old money pretension. We arrived fashionably late, Dante's hand firm on my lower back as Marco opened the car door. Cameras flashed immediately. Apparently my disastrous first wedding had made me newsworthy, and my marriage to Dante Moretti had amplified that interest. "Smile," Dante murmured against my ear. "Let them see you're happy." I smiled. Let the cameras capture Mrs. Moretti in diamonds and designer silk, looking nothing like the broken girl who'd fled a cathedral 2 weeks ago. Inside, the ballroom was packed with Boston's elite. Politicians and businessmen, old families and new money, everyone dressed in their finest and clutching cocktails like weapons. Conversation stuttered when we entered. Heads turned. Whispers erupted. Is that Sarah Mitchell? I heard she married some Italian businessman. God, that dress! Dante's hand tightened possessively. Chin up, Kara. You're the most beautiful woman here, and you're mine. Let them choke on their jealousy. We moved through the crowd like royalty. Dante greeting people with easy confidence while I smiled and nodded and tried not to vomit. Then I saw them. Marcus stood near the bar, talking with his father and a group of older men in suits. He looked the same. Blonde hair perfectly styled, blue eyes that had once made me weak, that politician's smile firmly in place. Catherine hovered nearby, dripping in diamonds that suddenly looked cheap compared to what I wore. They hadn't seen us yet. Ready? Dante's voice was dark honey, dangerous and sweet. I took a breath, straightened my spine, let the rage I'd been nurturing for 2 weeks crystallize into cold determination. Yes. We crossed the ballroom, Dante's hand never leaving my back. People parted for us instinctively, sensing predator and prey dynamics they couldn't quite name. We stopped 3 feet from Marcus's group. Gregory. Dante's voice cut through their conversation like a blade. How unexpected to see you here. Gregory Sullivan turned, his smile faltering when he recognized Dante. Then his eyes landed on me, and the smile died completely. Mr. Moretti, we weren't expecting you. I'm sure. Dante's arm wrapped around my waist, pulling me close. I don't believe you've met my wife. Sarah Moretti, though you might remember her as Sarah Mitchell. Marcus's glass slipped from his fingers. Crystal shattered on marble, champagne spreading like blood. His face had gone white, eyes tracking from me to Dante and back like he couldn't process what he was seeing. Sarah? His voice cracked. What, how? Hello, Marcus. I kept my tone pleasant, cordial, like greeting an old acquaintance instead of the man who destroyed me publicly. You're looking well. Marriage clearly suits some people. Catherine had gone rigid, her expression cycling through shock, fury, and something that looked like fear. She recognized Dante's name. Everyone did, and she understood what my presence on his arm meant. This is impossible, Marcus sputtered. You can't just... We were engaged 2 weeks ago. Engaged to you. I let my smile sharpen. Married to him. Turns out when someone actually values you, things move quickly. Dante's hand traced my spine, the touch intimate and claiming. Sarah and I have known each other for months. We kept things quiet until the timing was right. The lie rolled off his tongue smoothly. Your public rejection simply accelerated our timeline. Months? Gregory had found his voice, but it shook slightly. That's... Sarah, surely you can see how this looks. Like I upgraded significantly? I interrupted, channeling every etiquette lesson Elena had drilled into me. I know exactly how it looks, Gregory. It looks like your son did me a tremendous favor. Other people were watching now, drawn by the tension and shattered glass. Camera phones appeared. This would be on social media within minutes. Sarah Mitchell, humiliated bride, now glittering on the arm of one of Boston's most powerful men. We should talk, Marcus said desperately, reaching for my arm. Privately. There's been a misunderstanding. Dante's hand shot out, catching Marcus's wrist before he could touch me. The movement was casual, almost lazy, but I felt the violence beneath it. My wife doesn't take private meetings with ex-boyfriends. Surely you understand. Let go of me. Marcus tried to pull away. Couldn't. Dante's grip was iron wrapped in silk. Gladly, Dante released him with a slight push that made Marcus stumble, but let's be clear. Sarah is under my protection now. Any attempt to contact her, to harm her reputation, to so much as speak her name without respect, will be considered a personal insult. His smile was sharp enough to cut. And I take personal insults very seriously. The threat hung in the air, unmistakable. Gregory's face had gone from white to red, anger and fear warring for dominance. Catherine looked like she might faint. Speaking of insults, Dante continued, his tone pleasant as poison, we should discuss your debt, Gregory. $2 million, 3 weeks overdue. I've been patient, but my patience has limits. This isn't the place. Gregory glanced around at listening ears and watching eyes. We can discuss this privately? Why? Dante's voice carried, ensuring everyone nearby heard. You made your son's personal life public. Seems only fair your financial troubles receive the same treatment. You bastard, Marcus hissed. This is about her, isn't it? You're doing this because I left her. I'm doing this because you're a spoiled child who thinks actions don't have consequences. Dante's hand tightened on my waist. You humiliated my wife in a cathedral full of witnesses. You broke her heart for a polling advantage. Did you really think that would go unanswered? The ballroom had gone quiet. Everyone was watching now, this confrontation more entertaining than any political speeches. Sarah. Marcus's eyes found mine, desperate and pleading. Please, tell him this is crazy. We can fix this. I made a mistake. I know that now, but we can— No. The word came out strong, clear. We can't fix anything, Marcus. You made your choice when you left me at the altar. I've made mine. I stepped closer to Dante, letting his arm wrap around me, and I'm very happy with it. You don't love him, Marcus accused. You can't. You're doing this to hurt me. Not everything is about you. The words felt like freedom. Dante values me, protects me, treats me like I'm precious instead of convenient. Why would I want you when I have that? Dante's hand cupped my face, turning me toward him. His kiss was thorough, possessive, absolutely inappropriate for public consumption. But it made his point. I was his, completely and irrevocably.